Hello, everyone, and welcome back or welcome for the first time to Holy Shift. I am Stephanie Gray, and this is a space where we have conversations about the shift in consciousness that's happening on the planet today. You may notice I have another guest. This is my dear friend, Tim Behrens. Um, I love this man so much, I can't even put it into words. Tim is one of my good friends, but he's also a hypnotherapist, an authentic relating um, facilitator, and a Reiki practitioner. He's an intuitive, like he's an artist, he's a musician. I could go on and on. But the thing I love about Tim is the way that he communicates. And I don't know, it's he's going to talk about that with us. But I feel like communication and the shift in consciousness is so important because I think with all the divisiveness on the planet right now, one of the ways we can move through that, through and out of it, and change the world is by the way that we communicate. And Tim has Tim has taught me so much about authentically relating to others, about speaking from the heart. So I just wanted to have you on, Tim, to talk about this because we've had so many amazing, like coffee conversations
Mhm.
about where we're at and where we see things and feel things going and headed, and how conversation can absolutely, and how we relate to one another can absolutely change things. So I will start with a question, and then I'd like you to go into um, whatever you feel the most compelled to talk about as far as relating and conversation and the
Okay.
shift in consciousness. But the question I have for you is, do you feel that there's a shift in consciousness happening right now?
I do. And it's one of those things that we only have our own experience to go by, right? So I'm at a point in my life where I've been through a lot of phases and learned a lot of things and overcome a lot of things in myself and my own healing journey. And so I have a very limited view of what's happening. Um, and so we've talked about this a little bit before, I think, where I do feel that shift and I do see it in my community. I see it in the people around me. And um, and then I also find myself wondering, is that something that other people in other times and other generations have felt as well? Is this
Mm,
our shift or is it the shift? Um, I do think we are at a point in time where things are evolving with technology, with AI, with social media algorithms, with um, just everything that's happening in the world that feels very unique to this point in time. Like there are a lot of things going on that have never happened before. And I do believe that that's a call for a shift in consciousness.
mm,
Um, Even using AI as an example, I have a background in IT as well, and I am aware that there's a bit of a recession in that arena because so many people are losing their jobs because of this emerging technology that's making things more productive, but also putting people out of work. And in that sense, as we're starting to look at that, we have these questions of like, how do we fit into this evolving landscape? It's almost like the technology is leaving us behind in a sense. And also, we don't really know where to look for truth because everything is skewed to our algorithm, to our, just the things we see in our social media streams and deep fakes and false news. I hate to use that term, but just all of these things that are happening where people are needing to find another source of their personal truth.
mm.
And I think that's pushing us back into community. Like I know that I can trust this, you and me right here, right now, talking. Um, and I know I can trust the community around me and things. So it's pushing that back where when we look for connection and communication, that becomes more of a source of truth again, I think. Yeah.
Yes, and I agree, and I also agree with the fact that we can be in this algorithm bubble. We can be in this community bubble where, we tend to hang out and communicate and be with people who have the same sort of values and thoughts and beliefs on things. And and you're right. It's harder to tell if there's a shift or not going on unless you really go within and feel into it. And but to get back to your thoughts on, being in bubbles and being surrounded by people that sort of share the same things.
Mhm.
One of the conversations, the big conversations that we've had in the past has been about how do we meet people who have different beliefs than us, or who don't necessarily want to live as we do, or
Mhm.
fill in the blank, right? And how can we meet people in a different way? Because I believe that's what's going to help to transform things. And
I
so
do.
I'm just wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I'm going to come back around to that in the long way a little bit, and almost like wanting to answer that question again. It's so interesting how quickly that changes, right? Do I feel like we're in a shift? It's yes, I do. I think there are so many people that are finding that the old ways are not working for them, that this equation that was given to us for happiness, that was given to our parents and our grandparents, that has been passed down, this paradigm that we're living in is no longer working. Like we're following the equation as a culture and a society, but we're finding that our joy is coming from different places.
Mm.
And there's a lot to work through in that. And so for me, like when it comes to the connection and even connection with people who may be different or who may be living a different lifestyle or having different political views or whatever it is, um, I mean, for me, authentic relating practices has been a part of that. Um, yeah, like a simple authentic relating exercise would be some people sitting in front of each other. They're coming into a meditative you know, posture. They're going inward, coming in touch with what is my internal experience right now? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? You know, what emotions are coming up for me? And then keeping that in mind, they'll open their eyes and come into nonverbal eye contact with the person in front of them, and and notice how that changes the internal experience. And just in the times that I've done that, even when I'm sitting across from someone in one of these events that I know I am different from, culturally or politically or religiously, whatever it is, when you look at another consciousness looking back at you, when you can really be there long enough to see this mirror, this reflection, the universe expressed as an individual looking back at you, and there's something you connect to that goes deeper than that. It's those values that drive us that we do have in common, that need for comfort and security, safety, belonging, love, all of those things. And then everything else is just kind of noise a little bit. And it's like, okay, we have this connection now. Now what can we do? How can we talk about things in a way that we're respecting each other's autonomy and experience? And maybe, and then we, with that point of connection as our common ground, then it opens up civil discourse or sharing, giving our reasons, giving our motivations. And it may also open up a level of authenticity, I can't say that word, um, where sometimes you may realize that someone isn't your person, or they are on a very different path and there is more of a difference. And can you navigate that? Can I allow them to go their own way? And certainly there are boundaries with those kinds of things in the world because we have to protect those around us. We have to stand
That
up for the things we believe in. It's just like, how do you do that? Is there a way I can do that using things like nonviolent communication? Can I tell you what my experience is, how I'm affected by it without giving you the burden of owning that? And if I can do that, then there's more of an opening for us to talk about things and find that common ground, I think.
that's beautiful, because that was the next question, was like, how do we bridge that gap between somebody that you're, like you said, just isn't your person, or just isn't somebody that you're resonating with, really, because that's the bottom line, right? The resonance. But
Right.
still, I mean, in order to live from the heart, I mean, I feel like it's important to be able to communicate in a way that is at the very least effective, right? I mean, like to and to honor the other person in, in a way, but then also to set boundaries.
Right.
I'm I mean, I don't want to press it, but I am wondering, like, do you have tips for people as far as creating feeling safe in your body while you're having these conversations that may feel very uncomfortable, but that will also move us into a new place of being?
Yeah. Just what's coming to mind right now is like almost going into any conversation, can I have enough self-awareness to know what my motivations are?
Mm,
Is this conversation transactional? Is there something I'm trying to get from you? Is it defensive? Is there something I'm feeling like I need to defend about my own values and beliefs? And if so, there might be a little bit of inner searching to figure out, like, if I'm looking for defensiveness, that's what I'll find in conversation. If I'm looking for divisiveness, that's what I'm going to find in conversation. If I'm looking for connection, maybe there's a way, and this is again where authentic relating practices might come in, where um, I can be really transparent about that motivation. To say to someone, "Hey, I'm telling myself a story because ultimately I'm telling myself a story that you and me are very different on this political view or something, and it feels edgy to me to talk about this, but I'm bringing it up because I want to understand. I want to
mm,
be in connection. I want to find our common ground, whatever that is. If that truly is my motivation, and ideally it would be in this day and age. It's like we need to return to that place of civil discourse. But if I can be transparent with that motivation, I can tell them this feels edgy to bring up, or I have a curiosity that feels a little bit outside of my normal conversation. But the reason that why I'm asking it is because I desire for us to be closer. And in a lot of conversations, it may be telling them, and also if I don't bring it up, I recognize this is going to create more division because I'm just going to sit with it. I'm just going to keep telling that narrative and it's going to get stronger and stronger because I don't feel like I'm allowed to be myself. It's a constraint I'm putting on myself, right? But ultimately I'm projecting that onto the other person as if they are somehow confining me with my beliefs because I know we're different, right? Um, yeah,
I love that. To be transparent and to say, hey, this is a little edgy for me, but to ask questions too, to just be curious. Yeah, it's just a beautiful way to have a conversation and to have to be okay with being a little uncomfortable, right? To be
yeah,
okay with having it feel a little edgy. I think I think at least for me, like I've gotten so comfortable in the bubbles that I've been in that when I do go outside and find, oh, okay, not everyone not everyone does feel like these things or have these certain beliefs and ways of moving through the world, it can be like, whoo, and that feels a little weird, but to get used to feeling that is, I
right.
feel, important.
Yeah, like anytime you move outside a bubble, whatever it is, whatever your algorithm is, the people you surround yourself with, it's going to be uncomfortable. Right. And also, yeah, and to our subconscious mind, that's seen as danger.
Mm,
Because if it's something we don't know or we don't understand, we also can't predict how that's going to unfold. And that unknowing is dangerous. You know, 100,000 years ago, it might have been a physical danger of getting eaten by something because we didn't know it was dangerous. But like in this day and age, it's more of an emotional danger.
mm,
Something that threatens your sense of self or something that threatens your sense of security. Um, yeah, so it's almost the practice along with the authentic relating is like, how can I become more comfortable with my discomfort? How can I start to tell that we also have that negativity bias where if we have 5 interactions in a day, 4 of them go great, and the fifth one goes poorly, it's going to be the fifth one that keeps us up at night, right? So
mhm,
how do I start to tell myself a narrative or a story that maybe things are going to be okay? Maybe I'm going to have a conversation with someone who's different and we're actually going to learn something from it. Or maybe can I approach that conversation with a curiosity? What can I learn from it? And am I strong enough in my own beliefs that I can let that in enough to even consider? And if I'm not strong enough, then maybe there's something to look at there too, because maybe I'm so in my bubble that there's something I'm not seeing. Um, yeah, but it's tricky
It
because
is tricky.
we live in a world right now where I think people are bracing for a fight. It's like we have been pushed farther and farther into our bubbles where what we see and what we view is so dissonant and so black and white. And it's not because of the people, it's because of it is the algorithm.
Hmm.
It's the scrolling. It's the those metrics that will say, "Hey, I paused on this cat video longer than this video, and so now all I see in my stream is cat videos."
Hmm.
I mean, trying, extrapolate that as you will, but it's like we're kind of being pushed into these um, boxes that don't really allow for the fluidity of learning and interaction and imagining together what we can create
Humanity.
together. Yeah, humanity.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, it- One thing I take away from this, and just working with you, working alongside you, in certain workshops and things like that, it is a practice. It's not a one and done. It's a practice so that you can learn, like you were saying, learn to be okay with it, learn to
Mm.
feel okay in your body, and learn to be a little fluid and curious with things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. What comes up for me around the practice too is that idea almost of parts work. Like we have
Mm.
all of these different parts in us and they're all kind of existing in the same space and they do have different functions. Most of them are about keeping us safe or keeping us in connection. So why is it that I can go down to the temple Buddhist service and feel really aligned and whole and in community and feeling that love and that joy and that connection. And 10 minutes after pulling out of the parking lot, someone cuts me off in traffic and I am just, it's a different part of me. There's some need that's not being met. And so it's like both of those are real. I don't have to beat myself up for having that reaction, but do need to ask, like, what is that part of me that's feeling such anger in this moment? What's need is not being met? And can I look at that? Yeah.
Whoa, that's amazing. And that is such a practice. That's just an ongoing, daily, hourly, minute by minute practice, really. It's present moment awareness, I guess, too.
Yeah, and I do think too, it's just the nature of experience that sometimes we'll have experiences that will reinforce how we're feeling and how we're doing in the world, how well we're communicating with others, and then we may have an experience that completely throws us off. So it's that kind of how to what extent can I dedicate myself to the practice every day, or recommit myself, or look at my inner self-talk and see what kinds of narratives I'm telling and start to tell ones that are more aligned, more consistent with all of those different parts of me, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, but and so this has been amazing of a conversation. I don't want to keep you too long. I do have a question for you, and then I want people to know where they can get a hold of you and all that stuff. But
Sure.
so the question for you is, what is shifting in your life?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good question. Um, in the same way we started asking, am I feeling the shift? It's like I'm seeing it all around me, but I'm feeling it in myself too. I mean, this last year for me has been a journey deeper into hypnotherapy and trying to have this different kind of life that's more aligned with who I am as a person, more aligned with the communication and the connection, the things that I really value and want to share, both receive and share in community. Um, and I think even at this point in time, maybe even in the last couple of weeks, one thing that's shifting is a little bit more of that trust, that feeling that this could take us down a rabbit hole if I answer this too thoroughly, but that idea of like we really are consciousness creating our experience. Even telling someone the other day about that thought game of if I put the intention out there that I want to notice a green Jeep somewhere. I don't know if I've ever seen a green Jeep, but I know they're probably out there. But if I set the intention to see that, suddenly they may be everywhere. It's like, and it's really like we're telling our subconscious, that automatic programming that is running us through our day, with our conscious intention that's driving it, what we want to experience. So when we look at our self-talk and the things that we're, wanting to bring into our life, are we asking it to bring us more connection? Are we asking it to bring us more divisiveness? Are we asking it to bring us abundance and security, or are we bringing more of a fear, scarcity mindset? And if I'm honest, I've been in both of those this last year. There's been a lot of fear and a lot of scarcity and a lot of wondering, is any of this going to work?
Yeah.
Is there any direction to this? Sometimes it just feels so random. But the more I'm learning to trust that we are spirit and consciousness having a human experience, and that I am co-creating that with my intention and my focus and my awareness, and being authentically me and putting myself out there in a world that people can interact with me as me, and not some version that I think, is seeking approval or seeking belonging, whatever that is. If I'm just me, then I'm finding more and more of the things that reflect that in the world around me. And I'm seeing that starting to happen. And I think I'm seeing that in so many others too. And this is a really difficult time that we're in, because that old world, that old way of being falls away, opens up a space for something new. But it's not like something just jumps into that space and suddenly it's all good. It's more this transitional imagining space, this wondering, sometimes fearing, sometimes seeking or grasping. And how do we be with that long enough to actually let something come in? Because I think, and this is what hypnotherapy deals a lot with, is like when we finally hit that resistance, we know we want something different in our life. All of those voices come online telling us that this is not safe. It knows that we can survive where we're coming from because we've done it every day up until now. And the safest thing for it to do, regardless of whether or not it makes us happy, is to return us to that old space.
Mhm.
So it becomes this practice as well, this daily commitment to, like, can I be in this uncomfortable space long enough that it starts to become comfortable? Can I, and in that space, can I visualize and imagine and, ask for help and support in such a way that I can see that future that we're trying to bring in? And I think that's where community is and connection is so important. If you try and do it on your own, your internal voices are going to be so strong. And yeah. And that's been the battle. It's been a battle for me this last year.
Mm,
Um, and it's so what's shifting for me, coming back to that question, is I'm really starting to believe that I'm winning the battle. I'm moving
mm,
into this new life. And I don't know what comes next, but it's like I'm here for it. That Mary Oliver quote that's been driving me for the last year is, what is it that you plan to do with this one wild and precious life? And if you're not happy with what you're doing right now, or the connection you're finding in the world, or the conversations you're having, then it's probably time to, take that leap and do something differently. So, and I'm trying.
absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Trying. Not to say I don't have my bad days, because I do.
I
Yeah.
can totally relate. It's not a one and done thing. This is a very like back and forth, a noticing, a practice. Well, and you talked about community, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that you and we co-host Paradigm Shift, which
Hmm.
is part of the Awkwardly Zen community, which is awkwardlyzen.com. But this podcast is part of awkwardlyzen.com, so that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and we talk about things shifting and about that the discomfort that can happen. And so if any of you out there would like to, jump into community for free and talk about the paradigm shifting things that are happening, we do that on a quarterly basis. And we're starting in February. So
Yep.
we're going to look forward to that. Um, Tim, can you just briefly let us know where we can reach you and what you're offering right now?
Sure. Yeah, timbehrens.com, timbehrens.com is my site for hypnotherapy. And um, if you happen to contact me through that site for a session, would love to give a discount for some, if you mention that you found me through this um, video cast, and excited to be starting some new collaborations with you, Stephanie, that are coming up that I guess maybe we can talk about at some point.
Yeah,
And yeah,
we'll have you back on because that's going
yeah,
to be
that would be
exciting.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah. And certainly Awkwardly Zen. I also do an introvert Zen Zoom once a month there with Lori Hewitt, who is an amazing intuitive. Maybe she's been on, or if not, I hope you have
she
her
will
on.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. And um, that's really it. So probably the website. Certainly, yeah, I'm on social media and all the different places.
Yeah, and I'll definitely have all of his links and his larger bio so people can read through that. Um, and I'm just so I just feel so grateful to know you and to have you on and to be able to share your wisdom with folks. And hey guys, I mean, this has been an amazing conversation, and I just feel so happy, so blessed.
Really grateful for you and all that you do, Stephanie.
Oh,
It's wonderful to be on the journey with you. So
yeah, same. Thanks, Tim. And thanks,
thank you.
everybody. We'll see you next time.